This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, episode 388. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome into another edition of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig. You can check out my new and improved website over at nickcraig.com, where you can check out the Wilmington's Morning News podcast, and of course visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Joining me as he does each and every week with a little bit of, was that the Fallout Please Stand By background you got rocking there, Brian?
Yeah, got a little bit of Fallout here. For
Excellent.
Maybe Fallout 5 that'll come eventually in 2050. I saw somebody making
there's
today.
so many games on the precipice of coming out, or at least thoughts of them coming out. It's pretty interesting. Hey, Brian.
Hopefully soon. But if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, Truth Social, or you can get me at Voice of Computer on Twitter. Of course, this is my blog, biteoftech.com. And if you're interested in getting information about us, you can go to infectionpodcast.com, as Nick said, and go to where it says join our server on Discord, where we got a place where you can put news topics. We got a place where we got now 11 ARC servers going, which is pretty ridiculous. Moly. And they're all running how they should. So that's good. And a lot going on there. So if you want to maybe reach out to us, give some suggestions, things like that, perfect way to get to us is through Discord. If you're looking for video forms of the podcast, the way you can do that, we do live with those, and that's through Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive, and then audio-only forms, which are not live but uploaded after the fact. So if you do listen to the audio forms, which there's a lot of different ways you can do that through the lower right, make sure you follow along in the show notes, because we do post all the different links for things that we refer to throughout the show in those show notes. There's a video and audio player in there. And it makes it really easy if you are listening to follow along, maybe play a video when we cue a video, and that way with a little bit lower of a bandwidth, you can still get the full show. If you want to support us, there's a support option up top, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support, where there's Prime Gaming subs and all kinds of things that people can do to help support the show. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir, we do very much appreciate it. All right, Brian, we've got a kind of a weird mix of news to get into this week. All over the place, yeah. But I think I want to start off with Diablo Immortal. If that works, we covered a couple of weeks ago the launch of Diablo Immortal, and I think when we covered it, you know what I'm going to do, Brian? I'm going to head on over to infectionpodcast.com and look at our show notes and see exactly what we mentioned about it when we covered it. I want to say it was maybe 3 weeks ago that we talked about it. There was a
lot of outrage at first from people.
There was a lot of outrage, and it started off with, and it was 2 episodes ago, it was 386 that we covered it. And just looking back at the show notes, which you can find at infectionpodcast.com, you can see, at least from what we covered then, immediately there was this, it's pay to win. It's going to cost you $110,000 to get all of the, get yourself, all your skills leveled up and various customizations and armors and all of that stuff. So, but on the same vein, I went to the Apple App Store live on the show, and we looked at the reviews for the game on the Apple App Store and compared that to the reviews on that were on Metacritic, and there were nearly 60,000 reviews on the Apple App Store 2 weeks ago when we covered it. I'm going to look at it right now and see what it's at. There were nearly 60,000, and at that time, it had a 4.6 rating out of 5. Yeah. So an incredibly high rating. Looking at it now, Brian, it's got nearly 100,000 reviews, 97,733 as we are here right now, and it's got a 4.5 star. That did not add up with the Metacritic review, which was it like a 0.6 or something? I mean, it was less than 1.
So like the lowest that I think there's been for this type of a game.
An incredibly low number of reviews. An incredibly low rating, but also a relatively limited number of reviews. I want to say there was only like 16 or 1,700 reviews on Metacritic. So there was definitely a discrepancy there. As you've got one side saying this thing is cancer, And then the other side
Yeah.
saying, well, here's a population pool that's 50 times what you have, and they say it's great. So over the last couple of weeks, Brian, you and I have played the game separately. We haven't talked about it at all. I'll lay the floor over to you. You played some Diablo Immortal. What were your initial impressions? And then I'll jump in as well.
All right. So I played just about to level 20, I think, because I wanted to see something probably happens to 20 that I haven't seen yet. That
what I'm at.
maybe changes the whole bit of the game. But it felt very much like a regular Diablo game to me. I didn't see any real pay to win. There was some mobile stuff at this point. They laid off. There are, I could go buy, but I don't even know what the currency, other than for crafting and things, is all used for. Everything up to this point has been fairly cheap. The game feels like a PC or console Diablo. I'm sure the newest one, that Diablo 4 that they're working on, I think it's Diablo 4, correct, is going to be more advanced, because those Diablos that came out, they've done a remake and they've done some things, but those are pretty old games up to this point. This one just felt like a lot like the last Diablo I played, actually. I mean, it uses some of the same towns. The art feels very similar. The quest system, you could make it more difficult. As you see here on the screen, it shows you footprints of where to go to your next quest, which, if you're looking for a casual game, that's perfect. I hate
perfect for me.
If I'm trying to be casual, I hate being like, okay, I am so lost. Where am I supposed to go? And then some games, you can wander around, and there's not really an indicator of where you're supposed to go, especially on some of the old adventure games. And that's part of the hardcore nature of it. But on a mobile game, I don't want hardcore, personally, for this type of a thing. And so, I'm picking up the normal, a bunch of loot. I'm not sure, because I've tried not to go and get too many spoilers as far as what happens next. But I'm kind of curious, is it that people are really buying gear because they're trying to get on the leaderboards? Because that's how some of the old Diablos were. It was more of a grinding competition at the end, trying to beat people's times, clear times, and get the best gear in the game. Like, those were the leaderboards that, kind of competing against other people. If you're just casually going through to play a game, at this point, I'm not sure if there's a point where it just seems overwhelming. Like, I need to buy stuff to really get past this. Like, the bosses get so hard, or the things get so hard that's their gate. Because in Diablo, there was never really a boss that was so hard you couldn't beat it. 10 tries and it may be on a boss if you had it on hard. And you would beat it. I'm not seeing the pay to win to it yet, but I'm only level 20, and that could be cranked up as you start to go up to, who knows, with level 100 or whatever.
So I've got a relatively similar experience. I just loaded mine up. I'm at level 16, so I'm not far behind you. And agreed, in the early bit that I've played, and again, obviously not having played the entire game yet, or even come close to playing the entire game, it's hard to say that these reviews are incorrect or inaccurate or whatever. Yeah. But in the first, and I'd say I've probably got maybe 2 or maybe 3 hours of gameplay in, something like that. It's not like I've played.
Is this the mage you're playing here? Is it like a mage or something? Because I think I played the Necromancer, if I remember the name.
Yeah, this is just a video on YouTube I pulled up.
Okay.
Just to get some gameplay. I don't remember what class I am. I'm a guy that I swing a sword. I don't know what that means. I'm not.
Okay, so you're probably the barbarian.
Yes, I think I am the barbarian.
Okay.
So that's how I was playing, and I think I've got maybe 3 hours. This is probably what I've got in the game. So it's not an extensive amount. But to go back to something interesting, Brian, that I think I covered when 2 weeks ago when we covered the game originally, is that there were a lot of reviews that said this is the first actual game that is on mobile that feels like a real game. And I have to say, that's spot on. And by the way, this game is on PC as well. This game is on battle.net. You can play it on the PC as well. I don't know what the difference is. Obviously, I'm sure the graphics are a lot better and the controls look a little bit different, obviously. But this
one thing that I noticed different that I kind of enjoy about the console and the PC versions is there's a lot of breakable stuff. And you can get You can get boosts by breaking a certain number of objects, in a row during a certain time and things like that. So when I was playing regular Diablo, I'd be running around breaking everything trying to get those perks. There's not as many breakable. There are areas where it kind of feels like that, but they definitely, I think, to make it more mobile friendly and run better, it looks like they kind of took out a lot of the little random breaking objects that were needed in the dungeons. That's one of the main differences, and if that's one of the only differences, that's pretty incredible.
And I think you would expect that on a mobile game like this because you can't, you don't have probably the processing or the assets to handle this. This game is
and the video
huge,
cards are very different than any of those other things. I mean, you're using a mobile phone, which is a very limited video card. So the amount that they're able to do on this is pretty incredible because for me, it ran very smoothly on my phone. I didn't have anything that looked like it was broken. All the quests were working as I would expect. It's kind of taking me through. It just feels, as you said, feels like a normal game to me. And it does. I don't feel like I'm hitting a lot of the mobile limitations. So I think they did a very good job of making this feel good. And I think that's what because this is one of the first Diablo mobile games. If it is the first one, I don't remember.
It is the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so, they definitely wanted to, because they're bringing a bunch of PC people or console people over to this. You want it to feel as good as possible, and I think they accomplished it. And the sales kind of prove it, because they made, in the first 2 weeks, they made $24 million. So
they did. Yeah, that was an article I saw over at, I think, I can't look at it this second, but I believe
Forbes.
that's over at Forbes. $24 million in the first 2 weeks. They made $6 million in the first couple of days. Now, obviously, this is a free-to-play game, but it does have some of those elements. And I will say, again, being level 16, haven't really dealt with a lot of that yet, where it's necessarily shoving it down your throat. It might get worse. I can't speak to it. I haven't played it. I'm not sure I will get to that point. But I was very impressed, Brian, and I've, anybody that's listened to this show for a period of time, you'll know that I have not been somebody that has played games on mobile really ever. Even the simple mobile games, just, the puzzle clickers, I've never played any of that stuff on mobile just because I've never really had an interest. And playing this, I was very, very impressed with how well it ran, how it just, I felt like, and I've been predominantly playing this in bed before I go to bed. So it's dark and I'm focused 100% on the phone. I've been very impressed with how it looks, the dialogue, just everything in the game thus far. This has got to be the most I mean, look at this. Look at what's going on screen right now. This has got to be the most full-fledged mobile game that there's been, at least that I've seen. I don't think there's anything that you can compare it to.
Yeah, and one of the only other games that I really felt this good was a game called Vainglory, which was a MOBA. And it was a MOBA that felt very much like League of Legends and things like that. And, of course, this is years ago they came out with this. Now, this is technically more advanced, but at the time, that was one of the only other ones, and I played that one quite a bit, and it felt like a PC game. Not very many people are able to pull it off, or companies are able to pull it off. But I think this is going to be helping to set that standard, because I think we do need to set a standard with mobile games, especially now that mobile is becoming, I mean, you've got all these different devices that pretty much give you PC and console games in the palm of your hands. This is going to be the expectation. And now that we're going to be streaming to mobile devices, games like this, it's going to come down to controls. People are going to expect to have the controls feel like this when they play a mobile game, because there's now an example of it. This is I think this is going to help set that standard, because when I tried to play Fortnite mobile, the controls didn't feel anywhere near this good. It was kind of a pain and was a little bit glitchy when I first played it. This one, once I figured out my left thumb that I didn't need to move it to the certain spot, I could just kind of press anywhere on the screen, and it was that was the only part that took a second to really get comfortable with. After I got that, I didn't even think about it anymore, and it felt totally natural. So it's good.
Yeah, I would. I'd recommend, if you are even tangentially interested in this game, or kind of interested in the concept of it, that you go and give it a play. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Again, I can't speak to the later game stuff, but I have been very much impressed with what I've seen thus far with the game. And it is obviously working out really well for Blizzard, as according to App Magic, they say that it's made at least $24 million from microtransactions. They claim that 43% of the spending was done in the U.S., 23% of it was done in South Korea, and 8% was done in Japan, 9% combined for Germany and Canada. And it's obviously making a lot of money here in the Western world for that. So a big... Go ahead.
One thing, if you look what happened in China, though, they were supposed to release it here on June 23rd.
Yeah, a couple days.
But on the 19th, a couple days ago, they announced that they were going to have to wait because it needed further optimizations. Now, the people are asking questions because they say that it came a few days after Diablo Immortal's account on China's major social media platform, Weibo, was banned from making new posts, and the ban was for violation of related laws and regulations. So I'm wondering, because China is very strict about things like skulls and blood, I can't imagine the version that they're releasing there with green splatter instead of blood, and monkey heads or whatever they're doing for instead of skulls. The things that they kind of did with the original H1Z1 over there. They had to bend over backwards to make that thing where police cars they couldn't have police cars there because, we don't like American police cars. You can't, I'm fine with, having less skulls in games, but this is part of the Diablo aesthetic. It's supposed to look like this. I just don't know how they're going to release this, especially with the new strict laws that they have in China, and have this actually pass without it looking like going through an amusement park instead of a dungeon, with all the things that they decorate it with.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be out on the 23rd, which would have put it out on Thursday in China. According to Blizzard, they say that they've set a new launch date for July the 7th. Now, the way that this works, and I believe this is the case, when these games come out in China, it's not Blizzard that is releasing the game. It's a group called NetEase, EASE. They're the local Chinese publisher that's doing it, and I think that's how games like this kind of skirt around whatever, because it's being essentially co-developed and published by NetEase, not Blizzard Interactive.
Which allows them to get more money out of the developers, because you're saying, oh, well, you have to partner with these developers, so you're going to pay them half, pay your company half, even though they're not doing anything, and then they get more money into the Chinese government.
Yeah, and again,
other they're doing fake negotiations. It's all government contracts in the back end anyways. This is one guy who's works with the other guy's boss, shaking hands and saying, oh, good, we can come to agreement. There's no agreement. It's whether or not they can get enough money out of you. It's like it's a game to them to be able to get more money to the government.
So while I completely agree with you, I think that goes to show you that for Blizzard, this is obviously a market in which they think they can make a lot of money, because you would not go through this nonsense. You would not partner with a Chinese company in NetEase. And let's be clear, other Blizzard games are out in China. This is not the first Blizzard game to come out in China. But there's obviously something there. And we've talked a lot over the past couple of years, Brian, about China, about the market, about how their video gaming is different. I would imagine this game is going to go bananas in the Chinese market, where a lot of gaming is done on mobile. This thing is probably going to be a rave success if it ever comes out.
Yep. I mean, if they're able to get to where they have an acceptable version, I'm assuming they're just having to clear every single graphic and every single thing that's going to possibly show up in it, plus the monetization laws, which in the article they do note that the monetization laws are not as strict in China as they are as like Belgium and some other place that they had listed. So we'll see where this goes. And let's transition. Do you mind if we transition from this to let's talk about something that Ted Cruz said here in this past week?
Sure.
Because he was doing an interview on a podcast. I don't know if it's his own podcast or another one, but they started talking about Asmongold, who is a very popular WoW streamer. But he does he talks about things and does reaction videos and everything else. But he's playing a lot of this game. He put a bunch of money, I think, into it to kind of test the system. I don't remember how much he put in there, but I don't know if he was the one who put like $10,000, $100,000, but there was a lot that some of these streamers threw into this game to test what they could get when they put in like $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so on this, Asmongold had said that he was willing to talk with Ted Cruz about this whole pay-to-win gambling loot box type of mechanic, because there's going to be at some point legislation on it. Yeah.
Do you want to play a minute of this, or a couple minutes of this, maybe?
Yeah, let's go ahead and play a minute. Yeah.
So this is Ted Cruz and Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire that are on this video. So let's just listen into a few minutes of this in this conversation against, and you mentioned, Brian, Belgium and Germany Belgium and I think it's Poland that have some already pretty restrictive laws on loot boxes, and Diablo Immortal hasn't launched in those markets yet because of that precisely. And for the future of the United States, what some of that could look like.
It's a mailbag question that came in. I mentioned it to you a little bit earlier because I didn't know anything about it, but I would love your take on it if you have formed one. This is from Chris. I believe Chris is, or I'm sorry, the question is from Jonathan, but it's about someone who is one of your constituents. Question is, the Twitch streamer Asmon Gold said he reached out to Senator Cruz's office about regulating loot boxes in video games. Where does the senator stand on loot boxes? I know that those are all words, and I understand they have been strung together in an English sentence, but I don't really understand what it means semantically together.
Look, I'm happy to engage in a conversation with him. I'm happy to see what he has to say on it. As I understand it, the concern he's raising is a concern about gambling and kids. And I will say it is certainly true that social media, online environments, including video games, are designed to be addictive. Now, I'm something of a gamer. I'm not a gamer like hardcore Twitch streamers, and I don't do the massive multiplayer games.
Not yet, Senator, but I'll tell you, I bet you never thought that you were going to be a top podcaster. So who knows? We may have to launch the Verdict Twitch stream and start playing Pac-Man or whatever the kids are playing these days.
That could well be. And you remember when you and I did Dave Rubin's podcast, we did a Twitch stream on playing, I think it was Nintendo that he had, and we did that. And if I remember right, I beat his ass. I'm pretty sure that's right. And if not, that's the story I'm going with.
Mm-hmm.
Look, they're different components of it. In games, I'll tell you, I don't like it when you can buy in-game items and sort of make your character stronger or get advantages. Now, I'll confess, when I play some games, I'll sometimes buy it because it is more fun if suddenly your character has a lot more great stuff that would take you 6 months or a year to build up. So sometimes I'll spend $20 and buy a treasure chest full of coins because then I can spend them to get cool things in the game. I think it is a greater concern when you're dealing with kids, when you're dealing with minors who have a potential, number one, to spend a whole lot of money. And, with some of the loot boxes, there's a fair amount of randomness that you could get a lot of great stuff or some lousy stuff. And so I guess that's the argument that it's gambling. I'll confess I'm open to hearing arguments on this, but I approach the issue with a pretty strong libertarian bent. So I'd like to not see kids exploited and harmed. And so I'd be interested in his views, but at the same time, I'm not sure that the federal government really has a dog in the fight, that if people want to, in a video game, spend money on stuff in the game, I think my instincts are probably that may not be a great choice if you're spending massive amounts of money.
So I think that's kind of, Brian, and I'm glad he said that. And obviously I know a lot of people hate Ted Cruz and whatever, or think what you want, nobody cares. But the concept, this is exactly where I have fallen down on it, and I've talked about this many a times, Brian. I am not sure that, and it's not that I'm not sure. I am sure that I don't want the federal government in the realm of telling me how I can spend my money. This is the same. These are the same governments, Brian, and every state has got some sort of lottery system that has a Mega Millions, a Powerball, some sort of, here in North Carolina, it's called Carolina Keno, and New York, it's called, Quick Draw or Quick Hits in New York, something like that.
And it's all funding the school system? Is that what they do there? Here, it's supposedly funding the schools.
Yeah, which is bullshit. But they've all got these systems. So the idea that the government is, back off from lottery. I mean, outside of that, they sell lotto tickets and scratch-off tickets, all of that stuff, which is, just is gambling and is an incredible amount of RNG with that as well. But obviously, to buy a lotto ticket, to buy a scratch-off ticket, or to do something like that, you have to be 18 years old. And that is, that's the regulation. Those are the rules that are set up on a federal level, and then, trickle down to the states. So there is an element there when Senator Cruz says, I'm not okay with exploiting children, and that obviously is the concern. But is this something that the government needs to be involved in? And Brian, my stance has been no. The answer is no. I don't think so. I'm not sure that I want. And let's be perfectly honest about it. If you got some free time, go watch a C-SPAN hearing, or go on YouTube and watch Congress members talking about anything dealing with technology, and you will see the complete and total amount of, and it's not incompetence or anything like that. There's just no knowledge there. You've got ignorance. You've got these people that, Chuck Schumer still has a freaking flip phone, for Christ's sakes. He's not playing a mobile game on his phone. He doesn't know what the hell a loot box is, and that's not a dig on Chuck Schumer. It's just a different generation. So the idea,
I think we have a generation coming in that can. I think for instance, Ted Cruz is at the beginning of that, because if you look, he actually knew some of what he was talking about when it came to games, more than probably most of the people that are his constituents.
Ted Cruz is only 51 years old. I mean, he grew up in the era, he grew up in the era of the NES and the first,
the 80s.
First
he was
video game
probably
television.
In high school, junior high school in the 80s.
So he's not, he's not in his 70s. He's seen all of this stuff come on, and obviously, there was that, was it like 2 years ago? There was that, was it a congressman, or it was either a senator or a House member that was using campaign funds to buy games on Steam, and
they were buying.
So there is some problems there. Don't get me wrong, but I think right now there's not really and there's something interesting too, because Diablo Immortal isn't like this. It's not a loot box system, right? You're just
not that I've seen yet. Now, okay, here's where since I've played some of the other Diablo games, to where I was repeating content at the end. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I would say they're probably really getting you on is gems, because they probably have certain gems that are like I keep hearing about these 5-star gems.
They're 5-star gems, yeah.
So what they're doing instead is getting it to where there's these really rare high stat items, which kind of at the beginning I brought that up. I said, I think what they're really going for, and the people they're really going to be milking, are not the casuals. They're the people that are the hardcore players that are competing against other people. If going through the game and playing through the story, and I'm not going to try to get hooked on any kind of competitive nature of it, because I didn't get hooked on the competitive nature of the other ones that I played that were like this. I just wanted to play through the story, experience it, and just have fun. Because what I enjoy about Diablo is the mindless. I played some of my first ones. I played the barbarian like you, and it's perfect because you do the leap jumps and you're just smashing everything, spinning around. There's not really mana and all that, or the energy. You're just smashing everything and running. You've got the rage or whatever it is. But I tried that one for my first one. It was a lot of fun, and that's what I enjoy about it. I already have other games that I play more competitively. I'm not looking. Maybe there is this at the end, but if you're not looking for that, just play through the story and play it like a Diablo game. Don't play it because you want to compete at the end stats on the games against your friends. And if you're wanting to do that, well, this is kind of a pay-to-win mechanic. And do you want to get into a race with your friends on a pay-to-win type of game? Because it's going to be whichever of you are willing to spend more money in the end, if you really want to. Because if you can buy the 5-star gems by putting $10,000 in there, and maybe you'll get a couple, that can gear up your character This isn't like other games where there's hundreds of characters you're gearing up. You're gearing up a couple different characters, that you play with. Maybe you have a war, the what was that one? It wasn't a mage, it was a wizard or a barbarian. Whatever you have, you're gearing up a couple characters, but it's only going to come down to, do I want to do this last content faster? I'll have to see how the end game does. There's probably some competitive like PvP or who knows, timing runs against other people. I'm not sure how they're doing the end game to really make people compete this much, but I just don't see any urge to spend money in it yet. And I appreciate that. And hopefully it doesn't become because some games do this. They hold you on for the first 20 levels and then it just takes a dump into pay to win territory. Maybe it will, but I'm not.
And maybe it will.
Right at the door. I'm right at the door there.
Absolutely. And obviously this opinion in this conversation, Brian, is subject to change as we get deeper into the game.
Oh yeah.
But going back to Senator Ted Cruz's comments, I think I gave my stance on it. Where do you fall on this whole thing of having the federal government or some sort of group, it'd probably the FTC, if I had to guess, the Trade Commission, stepping in and putting regulations on these companies about how they can handle loot boxes and things like that in their games?
Well, if they're going to treat loot boxes as gambling, which in a way they kind of are, they're the same type of mechanic. Instead of money, it's loot. You could change. There's raffle laws. There's all kind of laws on this. Sure, apply those to this if you would like. Which would mainly regulate out children. But don't say they can't do it, because this is a free market system, and the people that are really going to tell them not to do it are the people that are spending the money. Because, for instance, take a look at two recent movies. You got Tom Cruise in Top Gun, and then you've got the Lightyear movie. Well, obviously people are telling them their opinion of various movies by which ones they show up to. Yeah, we don't think we can do that in a video game for some reason, because we can't seem to resist not playing it. I don't know what it is. If they make it so fun that you can't resist not to play it, then quit complaining about, because they're not making you play it and spend that money. You're choosing to play that game and spend that money. And if you find that they've made it not fun, then treat it like that. It's not fun because they want me to spend money to do all these things. I don't think of it as gambling because I have the choice to play that game. It's not the only game like that in town. I know people say, well, I should have the right, to you don't have the right to anything. These are private companies making games. They don't have to make them for everybody. If they wanted to make a rich guy, videogame.com, you go there and you just throw money at the screen, they could. Why would you stop them? I mean, what's that one space game? It's pretty much that. Robert Space Industries. Are you going to tell them they can't spend monies on those fake planes, those fake ships? Like, at what point are you going to stop regulating people from being stupid and hurting themselves? Because it comes down to, are they enjoying it? Are they getting gratification? Just like them if they want to spend $5,000 on a ship because they enjoy that game, let them do it. And anyone who's like, but I can't pay $5,000. Okay, you can't. We'll play a different game. You don't have the right to play every single game out there. I think that's where we've gotten kind of lost, because we think that everybody should have the right to do everything, and then we have to be fair. Well, when I was a kid, I couldn't do all the things that some of the people that were in their 50s were doing, because I didn't have the money. I didn't have the objects. I didn't have the things, and I accepted that. And I think people now feel like, well, that's not fair, and they think that at 20, they should have all the same things that they have at 50. That's not how life goes, but it seems like we're trying to change that. And they think, well, we'll take away from the 50s to give to the 20s, we'll all be even. Well, that's not how life works. And I think that they're getting confused trying to regulate people for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. And, you made up a great example, Brian, when you were, you couldn't have everything you wanted as a 50-year-old when you were, playing video games. I was the same way with live streaming. When I was, started playing and live streaming and video games back in 2011 and 2012, I wanted a high-definition capture card. I didn't have $300 for a high-definition capture card, Brian. I kind of missed the precipice, missed the boat on that a little bit, because I didn't have the cash to make it happen. And it is what it is. It's life. You deal with it.
Fair. Some people they've been through more. They have more resources. They can do stuff.
Yeah, but they're older.
People are really against that. They hate that, but it's life. That's part of the joys. That's what you work for. That's what motivates people to work, is to have something at the end to retire on and have something different. We're in a very unique time in life where we actually have this ability, because 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, this didn't exist. And now we feel like, we deserve to have everything perfect. I think we are very blessed, but I think we need to learn to appreciate that rather than expect it, so that when you have more than what your parents had, appreciate every little detail rather than complaining about it. Because I do appreciate everything that I have. My dad had a lot, I'm sure, in the 60s and 70s growing up. But I feel like now it's just amazing what we have. We have access to all the information, all the communication, every little thing can be automated. It's just, it's a crazy time, and try to appreciate it. People get so caught up on, oh, we need to regulate this. If you start turning that faucet on in the government, they won't turn it off till it's too late.
Exactly.
If you want them coming and regulating the thing that you like, because you told them to regulate something you didn't like, because that's where it ends up if you don't stop. So hold back, realize, I like this, I don't want them taking that from me, so let that person have theirs. That's how I look at life. I don't have to like everything. And I think this is where people get caught up and don't understand libertarians. I identify as a libertarian because I don't have to agree with everything you do as a libertarian, because I realize me not agreeing with everything you do gives me the right to have you not agree with everything that I do. And I'm fine with that. And that's where people get caught up, because you have hardcore leftists and rightists saying, I want to regulate everything the other's doing. Well, it's even in the end. You guys are regulating each other in the same ways, just an opposite point of views. I think that's where we got to get off this regulation bandwagon and free market things away. If you don't like it, quit supporting it. If I don't like what a company's doing, guess what? And this is how I practice my life. I quit supporting that company. I quit shopping certain places, or I quit buying certain products, or I quit viewing and spending my money with those people, because that's your vote on whether or not you think that company is doing their thing right. Is the dollar or 20 or 50 or $100 you put in their hands saying, hey, I like exactly what you're doing, keep doing it. If you don't like them, quit handing them the money and saying that you like what they do.
Couldn't agree more. I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Brian. So we will continue to see the how the conversation unravels here. It's not going anywhere. It's happened in other countries, and we'll follow it here in the United States. All right, Brian. So maybe some more traditional video game news. We've got some stuff from Microsoft and Bethesda and Blizzard. Where do we want to go from here?
All right. Well, let's step to Microsoft here really quick, because this, I don't know if this was malicious or not, and people are going to get offended, I'm sure, from just even talking about it. But there was a Halo Infinite skin that they released for Juneteenth. It's a Juneteenth nameplate, actually, and it was named Bonobo, which is a type of gray ape. Well, it's an ape. It's a monkey. And so they did this for the Juneteenth cosmetic, which I don't know if it's malicious or not, because bonobos, I thought they were more in jungly, maybe India, because it's kind of an Africa style theme as far as colors. Who knows why they called it bonobo, whether it was malicious or not. But it's right when they noticed that the graphics nameplate was called bonobo, they went and changed it and said they were sorry. Now it's called freedom. So freedom, from bonobo to freedom. But this is something that could be taken as very racist. Of course, nowadays, who knows? I mean, people get offended about anything. This, I don't know. When you're theming a bunch of Africa things, and maybe with things with African colors, you name it something but that's just an odd thing to name it. Bonobos are known for being very sexual animals too. A lot of people, they're the ones that are constantly trying to have sex with each other, boys and girls. This is why the liberals really love them, because they don't differentiate, really. They're just crazy about whatever. That's true. That's why they say, do it like bonobo. You'll see bumper stickers and things like that.
There was some comments made that Bonobo is their asset editing program that they use. So that may have been a kind of a boilerplate name that they put in there on the start, just because it's the name of software that they use in conjunction with developing some of these assets. but obviously they immediately changed that. Of course, the moral outrage on Twitter from all of these people, and even the PC Gamer article, which has an obvious racist connotation. So just the moral outrage, like a company would
rather than the name of the product that exported the image was named Bonobo. That could be the default. Now, whether or not someone purposely didn't change it, because are any of the others named Bonobo? Yes or no? Go. If someone could look at that, then great. If there's 10 others that are still that for some reason the boilerplate name is Bonobo underneath it, then it was a mistake, right? But that's where I think is important. Don't get mad at people just because there's the possibility that they could have done something on purpose. Because innocent till proven guilty is a real thing. The name of the application is Bonobo. There's a very good chance that somewhere a default app thing says Bonobo for the name of whatever you put in some sort of a description field. I've not used Bonobo, so I can't really tell you, but it's very likely that that's possible. And the fact that people are jumping down their necks and saying, well, that's a racist thing. Is this named after the monkeys, or what's Bonobo? I mean, I'm just look up what the word actually means.
Yeah, well, and again, I think it's just I find the moral outrage. Like, for example, this Optic APG, I guess is his name. So to celebrate an African American holiday, you named the new emblem after an ape. Disappointed isn't even the word to use here. But to have blatant racism on an important holiday is just spitting into black people's faces. Get your shit together in your studio and do better at Halo. That is nothing more than grifting for likes on Twitter. That's nothing more than grifting.
Looking through,
because the idea. Well, hold on. The idea that Halo would release a skin and use a racial connotation to publish it is retarded. Anybody that thinks that was done purposefully and was known by everybody and they all went, yeah, you know what, that's really funny, let's do that, you are a fucking moron. And then the moral outrage of, oh my God, on an important holiday you did this? I mean, give me a freaking break.
Yep.
Nobody believes that that's the case. In the environment that we're in right now, the political climate, the outrage climate that we're in right now, if you genuinely believe that that's what happened, you're a fucking moron. Plain and simple, Brian. I have nothing else to do with that. I have nothing else to say about it. There is not a chance in hell that was done on purpose, and everybody knew and said, you know what, this is a great idea. Come on, Brian, give me a break. Yep. Nobody believes that, but a bunch of grifters can post on Twitter about it and say, get your shit together, Halo. Get your shit together. You know damn well you're just grifting off of this to try and get some likes on Twitter and to be featured in a freaking article on PC Gamer.
I think it was just something they missed in quality control. Because if you look at quality control, because I remember like when I was at Google, we made the sign language app or whatever, and it's pretty much this symbol right here, which means something in sign language as far as the international whatever for sign language. So I made an icon for the YouTube live app that we made that had that, and there were so many things they had to pass it through all their other country verifications to make sure that those hand finger signs don't mean something vulgar or offensive in any other country. Well, this somehow made it through that, or maybe it doesn't go through the same kind of verification things. That kind of stuff will lead, if you're not looking at it, a boilerplate. Now, the one thing that's kind of odd though is they say that this isn't used in Halo Infinite development. I don't know that. That's Kotaku said that.
Yeah, I call BS on that too.
I mean, when Kotaku says something, I take it with a grain of salt because they're not really journalists; they're opinion writers. And if you look at most of the things that they write about, most of it ends up just being opinion and incorrect.
When the sixth sentence in your article which has an obvious racist connotation, you know that it's not necessarily an accurate news report. this is obviously a failure on 343's part to not run any sort of QC on this. This was, and if I had to guess, Brian, I don't know this to be the case. This was probably something, since it was a skin or an emblem that was not necessarily, did not have probably a whole bunch of eyes on it, because it was a single emblem.
It's a color palette.
This is not a game feature. This is not a new map. This is not new characters.
I didn't see that. It's like they were going and looking at the data, underneath the game, because you don't see that name on the screen. It's something underneath that you're not expected to see. I didn't see that word. Looking at their graphic where they're supposedly showing this, I didn't see it. I didn't see it anywhere. I just don't see it. Doesn't say anything there. So
well, no, it did. It did show up in the game like this. Which was
okay. Because I was looking for that. So they. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, because I wasn't seeing the one where they showed the graphic of it on the soldier. I just didn't see that.
Yeah, so it was showing up in game. And again, the idea that this was nothing more than just a failure from QC is nonsense. They saw it, they immediately rectified it and said that this was an error, it was a mistake, and that they were sorry that it happened. So the idea that this was done on purpose is just beyond stupid. And
if there is an issue, they need to do an internal investigation, figure out if anything was done maliciously, who typed it in, who did it, why'd they do it, and go from there, rather than saying, oh, they're obviously racist because look at this, when having no context of what's happening in the background.
Of course.
Let's talk then about Activision Blizzard, because they did an internal investigation on all this misconduct that Kotaku and every PC Gamer and everybody else has been writing about, saying is obviously happening, because, once you say it 10 times, that makes it true, because then it's common knowledge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Activision Blizzard found no evidence of widespread misconduct at Activision Blizzard.
Whoa.
Around all these things that they've been going nuts about. They did an internal investigation, and most of this stuff they're saying it was not systematic. That these people, there were no things ignored. They said that an investigation conducted had found no evidence of systematic gender-based misconduct at Activision Blizzard, or that Activision Blizzard management intentionally ignored or attempted to downplay incidents of harassment at Activision Blizzard when they occurred. And so this is something they filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The problem is, well, exactly. J-Rock says internal investigation seems suspect, but this company, I'm not going to rely. I'm not going to rely on opinion, because look what happened with Amber Heard.
But hold on. Yeah. This is important to note. This was not done by, because of course the immediate thing is, oh, this was done by Bobby Kotick. No, this was done by their board of directors. This is a group of individuals that are not employed by the company. They don't work in the day-to-day. They are the board of directors. The same board of directors, by the way, that has been very critical of people like Bobby Kotick. So, and obviously, J-Rock, the internal investigation is always, of course, absolutely, no question about it. There is something there to say about an internal investigation. But there's also something to be said about unclaimed, unverified, anonymous sources. And Brian, you were just mentioning the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. Precisely.
Yeah. That they wrote an article. So she used the news media as a weapon against somebody to damage them, to make them do what she wanted, or to punish them. This happens on a daily basis when they wanted to make it so that the company would be forced to go into to have labor laws, and to get to where they have a what's it called? They're trying to do the player unions. They're wanting to have unions in the company. This is something that they use these to damage the company and to pressure them into doing this. So they went through and they did this, and they said they also found that the filing also states that media criticism of the company's executives was found to be without merit, and that while there are some substantiated instances of gender harassment, there's no evidence that harassment, discrimination, or retaliation were ever a systematic issue at Activision Blizzard. So any individual cases that can happen in life, they dealt with, but it wasn't repeated.
You have thousands of employees. There is always going to be cases of somebody being inappropriate at the workplace, some sort of discrimination or things, when you've got thousands of people that you work with, there is going to be bad eggs and bad apples everywhere. That is just the way that it works. You see it in law enforcement, you see it in politics with politicians. It's everywhere. The idea that this company has some sort of sacred ground that they walk on and every single employee is perfect and never made a mistake is nonsense. But I do find it interesting that they say that there is no merit in any of these claims that the media was making.
Now, here, J-Rock, listen to this. So, to make it so it wasn't totally internal, in parallel to this investigation, they also had former U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission Chairman Gilbert Casellas review data on investigated reports of gender harassment in the U.S. between September 1st and 2016 and December 31st, 2021. Based on his review, he said that there is no widespread or systematic harassment at Activision Blizzard and claims that the level of misconduct experienced by employees is comparatively low for a company of that size. So they said for being a company of that size, there tends to be higher levels of harassment and things like this, that they're actually lower than the average. But that, if you read the common blogs, they're not news websites, but if you read those blogs, they will tell you quite differently because they're not basing it on fact. And I wish people would wake up and realize, look at what Amber Heard did. Whether or not you care about them whatsoever, look at what she did. She had a news organization, or people that where they view it as a news organization, write a targeted ad against somebody, attacking them. She paid, she paid to have this done, or it's ridiculous. But they did that to harm somebody, and they used her opinion and things that were unsubstantiated to do it. Then, when it came around to it and they actually looked at the details, oh, that was all a lie. Well, the same thing here. They come around, they do an investigation, and it ends up doing full circle. Oh, and it was, you can't say all a lie because, of course, these things do happen. I'm not saying doesn't happen, but I'm saying it's not a problem that isn't being dealt with on a case-by-case basis. If you go and report that someone is sexually harassing you at work, I'm very sure it will be dealt with. If you go through the proper means to do this. If it doesn't, then, do something, file a police report, do something about it so that it gets into the system where they can see it in places like this. If you're saying, well, they were too scared to report, you can't use that excuse. They give them plenty of methods to be able to make reports. If you want change to happen, you have to raise your voice when it happens so that people see it. Not saying it could happen and then get mad at people for what could happen. You have to get people mad at people for reality.
It is pretty unbelievable because we've covered these stories for months now. We've covered this stuff for months, these stories. And again, to say that there is none of this going on is not accurate, because there obviously is. And again, in a company of this size, as was reported and as you would expect, that always happens. But for how it was reported that at Activision Blizzard, if God forbid you were an employee there, this terrible, awful company, you were being harassed and discriminated against 24/7, and everything was so bad and so terrible. Well, I think most of us, Brian, yourself and me, believed from day one that was complete and total hogwash. It's now proving to be the case completely. Now, obviously,
then it happens over and over again. If you follow, the problem is most people don't follow news stories over the years, and I try to remember things that I read where there's outrage about this, but then if you keep following the news, you'll see that 2 years later, 3 years later, then it comes out, there was an investigation done, and it was a false claim. But you know what? People, when they remember it, they don't ever remember that. Here was what happened in the end. It was a false claim. They only remember this horrible thing happened to this company, because that's really the goal for some of these, is to just do the damage. Because if you look at like the ABK, the Workers Alliance, A Better ABK, and all these union groups, they're the ones attacking, trying to force a union in there. And most of the union stuff has to do with LGBT issues that they're trying to force in, but they're using this as an excuse to do it. And I just it makes me frustrated that unions can't just say, hey, we want to make better conditions for our employees. We want to be advocates for our employees and go to the company with that stance. Instead, they treat it like they're protecting the companies. This isn't the industrial revolution anymore. We don't have 12-year-olds working in sweatshops and working in factories and not going to school.
Well,
We
China
don't have
they do,
those
but not
conditions.
here.
Well, okay, and we're always fine with ordering it from China,
Yeah, of course.
buying it from China, buying it from India, buying it from wherever else that it can be done, so that we don't have it in our backyard, so that we can say, see, we're not doing that. But hey, we're putting it in places where they don't have regulations on how much pollution they put in the air, just so we can save the environment here, right? But we're willing to kill it over there. The whole thing, if you're not willing to do something that actually is meaningful and just say words, then I'd rather have people just be quiet, because it's all words. And most of the time they're inaccurate words because they don't know what they're talking about. So do some research and then come at them. But here, obviously, they're going based on somebody's opinion, just like Amber Heard. She's still out there saying, oh, I think, lying about what happened. And she's probably going to get herself in another lawsuit, but she has no money to lose, so she doesn't care anymore. These people know that these companies do care what the people think about them. And it sucks when a person who actually cares about their reputation, when they're being attacked by someone who doesn't care about their own reputation or anybody's reputation, you're at a disadvantage, because that other person could say whatever they want and it doesn't matter to them. But when they start attacking you, you think, well, if people start thinking this about me, I don't want people to think this about me. And you start feeling attacked and you start feeling vulnerable. That person attacking you doesn't care. You can say whatever you want to them. Think they care? They don't care what people think about them. And that's the difference. These people care. And so they're coming at him and attacking him and just trying to destroy them. And if you want to talk about who's trying to destroy, remember Elon Musk, they're saying he was trying to affect Dogecoin. Well,
Yeah.
Here you've got these people, they're trying to affect their stock price. They're trying to affect all things about that company through attacks from the media. Are you going to turn around and be able to sue them? No, because, they're a union. They can say whatever they want. Well, can they? We'll see. It'll be interesting to see if enough of these lies end up being found. Can they be held accountable for slander, for saying just saying horrible lies about these people? I'm hoping they do, because I'm really tired of just them being able to throw whatever they can at a person and nothing being in return. And we're seeing it in the election. I mean, look at all the lies that are starting to unfold. And if people are willing to open up their eyes and actually keep up and see that second, okay, you saw the outrage in the beginning. Are you willing to now see the result? Oh, wait, that wasn't true. That wasn't true. Now you have to readjust your thinking based on reality. But people don't like reality. They like living in their bubble and in their world. And that's the frustrating thing. Get into reality. It's a lot cleaner here.
Couldn't agree more. All right, Brian, we got just a couple of minutes before we get out of here. Is there any other stories you want to quickly jump into?
Well, let's see. Let's quickly just discuss some things with Epic really quick, because there's some new things that were released that might be popping up in some of the games that you play.
Okay.
First of all, Epic has added, they've been adding features to their game store and to that whole suite of utilities. They now have added to where users can rate games and things in the store, so you can see user ratings. They have also gone in and added some of those free multiplayer tools. This one's going to allow Steam crossplay. So, there you go. So you can see on there, they have your rating, average rating. This will make it so that you can see what other people are playing and not just rely on Metacritic and some of these other things that aren't always reliable because of review bombing. And I'm sure there'll be review bombing in here, but maybe you have some little niche games that you like to play. Maybe you'll find other ones that people have rated highly. The Epic's free multiplayer tool lets people develop Steam crossplay, so you can have an Epic game and you can have a Steam game and do crossplay between the two. That way, if developers want to integrate once, they can integrate this and be able to play with both sets. And then, here's a little video. You can see they also have added in their Epic account services, and that's what you're seeing right now on the screen for the multiplayer and everything else, being able to group up across the different stores. Which will be very nice. I think they're just creating an open set of utilities. And the goal of this is so that you don't have to go to Steam to play with your friends. You don't have to go to Xbox to play with your friends. you'll have a set of utilities on the back end that are able to connect with all the different marketplaces or stores or platforms, and then you can play your game against those people on a normal setting.
Very cool.
Just like you're playing with on an Xbox to Xbox. So that's going to be very nice, and that hopefully we'll see some games. I'm sure they'll start using that. Fall Guys, if I remember correctly, they got purchased by Epic, and they implemented some of this a long time ago. But I think that was their test that they did for this, and now we'll see it roll out. They got the voice chat they're working on, all of this. I think they're offering enough that no other product compares to. I don't see other people without doing multiple separate products really doing this in a way that's going to connect everything together. Hopefully it becomes popular enough to where it gets used, to where crossplay is just the standard. You don't think about, am I playing against someone on Steam, or am I playing on a server that requires me to be on Steam or Epic Store? You just connect and you play, because I think that's where it's going, and we're just waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this was pretty recent, so this just got released. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll see where it goes. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we roll on out?
No, sir. I think we are good to go.
All right. Well, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, and Truth Social, or Boise Computer on Twitter, there's my blog, biteoftech.com, where if you want to you can contact me through there. There's also my social media at the upper right, or infectionpodcast.com, where if you go to the right-hand side, you can join our server on Discord, where we've got 11 ARC servers running right now. So if you're interested in playing, there's a new map we just put on there. But you can jump in there and play for free. And also, we've got our news channel in there. If you want to submit a topic, a game, anything that you think we should be covering that we've missed, put it in there, and we'll review that before the live show. If you want to catch the video forms of the podcast, and these ones are live, there's Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. And then the audio forms, those are recorded and then uploaded after the fact. So whatever device or platform you want to use, they're all at the lower right-hand side. Find what's most convenient for you. But if you're going to be listening, by that time, we will have the show notes uploaded. So you can go ahead and click on the particular episode that you want to listen to. There's an audio and video player built into there, but also there's links for each of the different topics that we discuss. So maybe there's a video that we played that you want to be able to see, that you're listening to. All those are available. And if you also want to support us, there is the support option up top, which is infectionpodcast.com/support. So
yes, sir. Brian, thank you very much as always. Appreciate it. And we will see you next Tuesday. All right, folks, thank you again for joining us. If you want to check out some of my political antics, you can visit my website, nickcraig.com, and check out my daily radio show that is podcasted. You can find all of that at nickcraig.com. If you missed any portion of this show, there's only one place to go, and that's our website, infectionpodcast.com. You'll find show notes, videos, links, all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.